Let the world know who we are. From the rugged territory to the Oklahoma run, we've made our dreams come true. Just look at what we've done. We're the heartland of America. Our heart is in the race. We sailed the prairie schooners right into outer space. We are young and we are strong. We're coming with a roar. Sooner than later, we'll be knocking on your door. Say hello to the future. Gonna shake the future's hand. Build a better world upon this sacred ancient land. We're Oklahoma rising, brighter than a star. Stand up and sing about her. Let the world know who we are. We're the sons and the daughters, children of the West. We're Oklahoma rising, rising up to be the best. With guts and grace and mercy, we have shown them in our turn. When the fields are turned to dust and the skies began to burn, when the storm shook our souls and the mighty buildings fell, through fires and desperation, our faith has served us well. I choke back the emotion. I'm an Okie and I'm proud. So when you call me Okie, man, you better say it loud. Now we look into the heavens at the eagle climbing free. It's the spirit of our people on the wing. Can you see? We're Oklahoma rising, brighter than a star. Stand up and sing about her. Let the world know who we are. We're the sons and the daughters, children of the West. We're Oklahoma rising, rising up to be the best.
Water needs on the current 5-year plan about 5 years ago, and I felt like we were making progress in that. And then this year, when we started having our reports, and one of the first reports we had down in the Stigler area, where one of my areas, communities, we realized it was admitted that they did not quantify or factor in non-consumptive use of water. And as I described my areas of concern and areas of representation, this is a major factor. It's a major concern. And I know several of us legislators asked for Attorney General opinion because of the lack of completeness of that. We got a response back basically saying, well, the study is not done yet, but then went on to define the need for beneficial use and define beneficial use, which includes non-consumptive use of water. So and then as I've been blessed to, I don't serve on the committee, on the water committee, but I've been there and hear the talk and discussion in that committee, and I know they're addressing this, attempting to address, but the facts and figures are not there, and that's what concerns me. That's one reason I am concerned, but I feel very fortunate to represent a wonderful district with a lot of water and a lot of concern because of that. Thank you so much for letting me be here tonight.
And then our next speaker is going to be R.C. Pruitt, if you want to start making your way down here. I just want to kind of highlight while he's coming down, how important this issue is. I know you can't really see it in the back of the room, and it may be close up front, but this is actually Times Square in New York City. And Sardis made the bulletin board there. When little places like Sardis, Oklahoma can make a billboard in Manhattan, you should know that it's an important issue.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me here tonight. It's an exciting time to see all these people for a common cause. Speaking of Times Square, I was there a few years, took a tour around, and it was one that had the electronic board that goes by, it showed the latest breaking news. So the question was, how much it cost to get your name on that? Somebody said, well, 50,000 or 5,000 or something. It didn't cost anything. So I thought, well, that'd be a bargain. So we got some recognition in New York without costing anything. I live just east of here in Antler, my district, District 19. Most of the Combination basins in my district, the Combination River flows into the Red. Of course, it goes all the way up to Payton, Tallahassee, and then makes an east turn, and it hits up over just the edge of Arkansas. So a lot of water comes through, and it's been a great concern about everybody. And it's good to see us get together here and try to approach a common cause, which will be common good for the state. I heard a story recently that said back about 7, 8 years ago, a lot of farmers down in South Carolina, of course, and you can ask the average, what do you need? What's the biggest thing that help you? Most of them say, we need bigger harvests. We need big, strong harvests, bigger, stronger harvests. But the story was, what they really needed was a tractor. But they didn't see it then. But people become more forward thinking, and I think we understood here, 3 or 4 years ago when this movement started, that we needed more than what we had then. And we always had people that could, when you look at the water study, I don't know, first of all, it costs $12, $14 million, whoever wants to leave. All of this information piled upon us. You've got people that professionally studies water, they know 10 times more about it than I do, but yet they're overwhelmed with all the stuff they put out there. And I think that was done intentionally, instead of trying to get public input to see what the consequences of some things happen. That was very prevalent. So, but be that as it may, that's what we got. But I think what's going to happen in the long run, that there's going to be legislation brought forward, and then that's going to make a difference. The water study is just what it says. It's almost presented, it's almost presented as part of statute or something. It does not mean anything. There's nothing in that water study that says we've got to do anything. So let's keep that in mind. I think anything that actually happens in water long term is going to happen at the Capitol. I think there's going to be statutes passed, and Jerry Allison was real involved in the water bill we passed 2 years ago that gave us a lot of protection. So there's probably more that's going to happen. So y'all bear with us. Your input is very important to us because, we do what we're told because we understand the voter makes a big decision. I remember a long time ago, I went to Campbell, some of you candidates might remember this. Some guy said, where do you live at? I live in Bush County. He said, how far is that? And I said, I don't know, 180, 90 miles. He said, on any given day in this building, there could be thousands of people here, and a lot of times not a one of them can vote for you. So you remember the ones back there, not here. Thank you.
I really appreciate being invited down here. And Charlotte and Penny, I'm going to tell you, you made a big mistake. big, big mistake. With all the politicians and these candidates here, you should have had a pie auction. In fact, if I pulled up, I told Representative Candy, I said, I think we're going to a pie auction here, aren't we? But I want you all to know that over the last 4 or 5 years since I've been serving in the legislature, I've been on a lot of hot button subjects that I've been involved with, and it feels really great to have a grassroots support behind us on this one. And I've spoken, I don't know how many times with Senator Ellis, and I told him, I said, sometimes it just feels like it's me and you against the world. And that was about 3 or 4 years ago. We don't feel like that anymore because we feel like that we've got a good, strong group behind us. And, besides the fact that we want to try to save, all the water in southeast Oklahoma from being raided by either Texas or Oklahoma City, I also think that we need also to be concerned about our other fellow Oklahomans that live out in the panhandle of Oklahoma. Because I want to tell you something. They're hurting, and they're going to be hurting a lot more than we are. Over the last 3 or 4 weeks during this water committee study, I had more emails from people out in the panhandle. There's some certain amount of those people, they want to really be involved in conservation. There's other parts of them, they just want to use as much water as they can out of the ground. And I can see both sides of both stories. I can see the ones wanting to be, conserved. And I can also see the ones that want to use as much as they can, because why should they conserve if the people in Texas are sucking every bit of the water out of the ground they can? And I also want you to know that I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place occasionally in this water deal, because a friend of mine, his name is J.D. Strong, and he's the head of the Oklahoma Water Resources Board. He and I are both OSU Aggies, and that is something we always have in common, and we always, joke about. And I've told him on several occasions, I said, whenever I'm attacking this comprehensive water plan, I'm not attacking you personally. You're not the comprehensive water plan. You're just over this. And I was really hoping when this comprehensive water plan was going to come out that it was going to give us some good answers. Well, it gave us some good answers. It gave us some answers that there's certain people in this part of the there are certain parts of the state that really don't care about the water down here. And I just wish those people in Oklahoma City and at the Water Resources Board, I wish that they were as good a stewards of their words as the tribes are with our water. That's all.
Thank you, Representative Ranger.
Thank you, Tanisha. Thank you for introducing all these people here and getting acquainted here. I wrote that down because I was afraid I was going to I'm glad you've already taken care of that. Appreciate all of you being here tonight. Just want to go over a few things here for about 6 or 8 minutes, and I'll shut up. But I want to remind you that it's easy to take water for granted. There is no replacer, not even soft drinks. Water has been a public resource for over 2,000 years. Access will become more limited as more water becomes privately owned. I want to ask you a question. Should corporate America be allowed to control our most valuable natural resource? No. The transfer of water to Texas is for industrial needs, make no doubt about it. The Tulsa World put it best May the 14th, 2009, in an editorial said, let's not give away the farm in haste based on threats that may not be real. I'm going to give you 3 half-truths or myths that Texas told in 2009 when we were trying to pass House Bill 3. Number 1, they would say, just sell us your water in case of a drought. Oklahoma's needs will always come first. Number 2, Ellis, you better take what we're offering you because we're going to take you to federal court and we might get your water for free. And number 3, we need that water for the poor, thirsty people of Dallas, Texas. It is not the job of one state to take care of another state. It's certainly not our job here in Oklahoma to take care of Texas. They can build reservoirs, they can drill wells, they can remove salt from bodies of salt water desalinization, and a third of the water that California uses comes from the Pacific Ocean. They get a conservation plan. They'll tell you they have one, but let me tell you what, during this last spring when the Dallas Cowboy training camp blew away, what did you see in the background in a downpour? You saw the people with sprinklers running. Sprinklers were running. We're winning in federal court because of two reasons. We're winning because of the Red River Compact that it took Congress 25 years to pass from 1945 to 1970. And we're winning because of House Bill 3 that we passed in 2009. All the water in the Red River Basin or watershed is allocated or compacted to 4 states. When it gets down to a certain point, it's equally divided between Arkansas, Louisiana, Texas, and Oklahoma. House Bill 1483 does 2 things. It says in case of a sale, number 1, Oklahoma's needs will always come first. And number 2, the outside entity or state that's making the application for the water must prove that they've exhausted all avenues for the things that I just talked about. How to drill wells, conservation plans, desalinization. 2 years ago in 2009, they offered us $200 million over 20 years for X number of thousand acre feet of water. That's $10 million a year. $10 million a year. That's 1/6 of 1% of our state budget of $6.5 billion for our most valuable natural resource. As far as I'm concerned, there's 2 ways that Texas can have our water. They can come up here and build plants, pay taxes, and employ our people, or we'll sell it to them 1 bottle at a time. What should be our goal? Our goal should be to make sure that this generation and all generations in the future have the opportunity to live the American dream and become all that they can be based on their God-given ability, and they cannot do it without water. Water is the birthright of your children and your grandchildren. To sell our water is not only politically wrong, it's morally wrong. Praise this water group here for the grassroots support that they have. We are reasonable and responsible. We appreciate everyone's need for water. In return, we hope they appreciate our need for water. We need water studies that are scientific. The science has been left out of the statewide water study. Water should not be moved until environmental and economic impact studies are complete and validated. The water issue is critical to all of us. I cannot speak for the tribes on technical and legal matters, but it is safe to say that we share the same goals concerning the future of southeastern Oklahoma. As you know, water is one of the most complicated legal issues. That is why so many lawyers are retained. Oklahoma is very complicated with 39 federally recognized tribes here in the state of Oklahoma. Then you have the state agencies, you have the federal, and you have the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, EPA, the Corps of Engineers, Department of Justice and the Interior, and the list goes on and on. That's why I've told people before, Afghanistan will probably be settled before the water issue is settled in Oklahoma. Atoka is one of the 4 counties that I represent in my city district, Pushmataha, Choctaw, McCurtain, and Atoka County. 50 years ago, they promised Atoka County, Oklahoma City did, in exchange for their water, they out of McGee Creek and Atoka, we'll bring you jobs and growth. Guess what they got? They got picnic tables. They got picnic tables. Now Sardis Lake, they come after it. 50 years ago, they came up there and they took 27,000 acres of land from 177 families, relocated these people, relocated 1 or 2 cemeteries and several businesses, and now they made application with the Water Resource Board to use the water to cover the land that they used to own, and they cannot even get their applications heard. We have somebody representing us on the Water Resource Board. It's from California, Oklahoma. The state statute says that it's 1 for every congressional district, which is 5, and then 4 at large, make up the 9. So they've covered themselves, but we have nobody representing southeastern Oklahoma in the southeast quadrant, and this is where most of the water is located on the Water Resource Board, and this is discrimination, people, pure and simple. It's wrong. Before any action, we must allow for the extremes in rainfall, such as the summer that we faced this last summer. Will Rogers second best. The only person predicting the weather in Oklahoma is either a newcomer or a fool. I was told by a staff member at Oklahoma City Capitol building in July, we need to try to do something about the water situation without getting sued. Well, guess what? That lasted until August 18th. And there are three things that I kept telling these people over and over and over that's almost surely will get you sued. Number one, if you start moving water from basin to basin within the state of Oklahoma, and you do not protect the basin of origin, you're going to get sued. Number two, if you do not include the federally recognized Native American or Indian tribes that are located within that basin, or you do not have them at the talks and you do not include them in the negotiation, you're going to get sued. That's exactly what happened on August 18th. And when you put compacted water, fresh water in a pipe across the Red River and go to Texas with it, when you pull out large quantities, you're going to change the quality and the quantity of what's left in the Red River, and I can assure you right now, Arkansas and Louisiana is not going to sit still for this. You're going to get to see the inside of the federal courthouse in Arkansas and Louisiana. Instead of a lawsuit, why don't they try better management? Be my suggestion to Dallas and Oklahoma City, well, it's been so dry, why haven't they been dredging and cleaning out these lakes and reservoirs up there? Or their little bowl that they call it will hold a little water once it starts raining. That's what we do on the farm. When it's dry, we clean the ponds out. Take advantage of the drought. Governor Fallon said in July, I believe it was, almost 3 months ago, that we need to pray for rain, and I certainly agree with her. Under extreme conditions, we do. While conditions call for prayer, is it necessary for Oklahoma to spend millions of dollars of the taxpayers' money on a study to determine if we have surplus water to sell to anybody? Craziest thing I've ever heard of. We need to pray. The answer should be no to selling water. This is a natural resource. This is not a commodity. This is not something that's for sale. If it was, it'd be the Oklahoma Water Commodity Board. There are two reasons that people are involved in this issue. Number one, they want to see what I told you a while ago was my goal, to see this generation and future generations have the opportunity to grow and develop, have available water available. The other people that are involved for money reasons, and there's a big difference. Texas has lied, they've threatened, they've sued, they spent $3.7 million on lawyers, and they spent $890,000 since January of 2007 trailing me around at the Capitol building trying to see what I'm doing. Oklahoma lobbyists. We defeated them 3 times in federal district court, and on September the 7th of this year, the 10th Circuit Court of Appeals in Denver upheld the lower court's rulings, and basically what it says, the courts are saying, Oklahoma, you are not forced to sell water to Texas. Now, after 5 years of lies and lawsuits, Texas wants to talk with their good neighbors to the north. So they're going to sit down and negotiate with us. I would think they got this in reverse. I think you need to be negotiating first. Texas wants our fresh water for drilling, or they call it fracking, in the Barnett Shale in 18 or 20 counties around Fort Worth, Texas. No! There are 16,150 drilling rigs down there. You know how much water it takes to do one well on average? It takes over 80,000 barrels of fresh water. If they ever start pulling this water out up here, they'll suck this place dry. Many of the folks that want to take the water to Texas have some, if not many, of our political campaigns in Oklahoma. This is a concern of mine, concern of yours. Before water is sold, I believe that they're going to have to go back and undo House Bill 1483. And anybody that goes back and takes action to undo this piece of legislation that's protected this state, I don't care if they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or what they are, you're the boss, the government belongs to you, and you need to fire. They have took us to court, they've lied, they've done everything else, and so why should we sit down and talk to Texas? Following the brutal summer of 2011, we should pray for rain. And if we need to pray, the answer should be nay to selling water. Anybody that needs any bumper stickers, be sure and get them here for me. Thank you.
State senator got more amens than the preacher got.
Mr. Derek Barry, I am a pastor, and if I don't get any more amens than the other guy did, I'm going to resign on Sunday. Let me just say this. It seems to me, let me come at this from a whole different angle. As a pastor, obviously we deal with on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, working with people like yourself, trying to encourage them to love, and in the midst of your trials, in the midst of your suffering, in the midst of your pain, sometimes in the midst of some bad decisions that got you in a bad way. And you know, my experience has shown me through the years, and especially even as a pastor, and even through the scriptural teaching, that it seems to me that any time that dollars are involved in anything in life, as that dollar sign gets bigger and bigger, decisions seem to go more and more, not always in the right way. And what happens is that we get ourselves in a situation that we begin to put other things ahead of people. That's one reason I run for you as Congress. Let me just say in short, and I'm going to be through. On my cards, I put the picture of our founding fathers on the very front for a very specific reason. And the reason I do that is this, and I'll be blunt as I am in every meeting. That if we don't return to the principles that our fathers knew, and established and implemented. Those are biblical. Let me be frank about that you all make sure that you understand. See, biblical principles help everybody. You can be an atheist, you can be Hindu, it doesn't matter. Biblical for everybody.
Amen.
And what we have a problem in so many areas, and sometimes even in our state, we're not exempt from that. So sometimes what happens is we have a problem. The bad decisions begin to favor the immoral side instead of the moral side. And so what happens is we have to return these morals. And when we start making decisions based on what the biblical principles say, well, it's going to be somewhat easier. For example, let me give you one on this very issue right here. Y'all you can check and make sure I'm right. I believe it comes out of 2 Corinthians 8, and I think it's 13. And I'll stop with this. But what Paul taught there was this. You never help someone else at your own demise. You can't do that. And see, it's not that we don't want to help. We're Oklahomans. But in all of our lives, you never help someone else at your own demise. And it sounds like, but for all I know, this very well could be a good application of that verse. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me down here at Dakota Wood. I'm down from Claremore, Oklahoma in the mid-1970s. Graduated from Claremore Sequoia High School in 1981. Was appointed to the U.S. Naval Academy, went off to Annapolis and did 4 years there. Fortunately, they let me out in time for it. Took my commission in the United States Marine Corps in 1985, and I served 20 years as a U.S. Marine, retired in 2005 as a lieutenant colonel. During that period of time, I saw a lot of and this is a side that's near and dear to my heart to see our young men and women serving in harm's way right now. And I was motivated in high school to serve because I felt that I owed something back to this great country that we all love. And it just seems to me that at some point in your life you have to give back if you're going to keep growing from it. I think there's some analogies here in southeast Oklahoma in terms of water people trying to take, and I think much of that. And I'll get to that in just a minute. During that period of time, I traveled all over the world, about 35 countries, sailed through most of the world's oceans, been off to war several times. The last time was the invasion of Iraq in 2003. During the latter half of my career, I was supporting testifying before Congress as an expert on defense matters, supported the Secretary of Defense, senior officials in the Department of the Navy, United States Marine Corps. And over that period of time, it's not just military issues that you become aware of, but it's how great America is and what differentiates us from any other country in the world. It comes down to personal freedoms, it comes down to personal privacies, it comes down to the innovative spirit of Americans, and the fact that relative to other countries, we are relatively unencumbered by a lot of the things that other countries are. High taxation, government intrusion. And what has really stirred my soul and heart the last few years is to see that eroded. And see that we've got a federal government now that keeps wanting to take from us, taxation, over-regulation, it's just across the board. Since 2005 until now, because I developed a nationally recognized expertise in the defense and security matters, I stayed plugged into that and have continued to support with analysis of where the United States is relative to the rest of the world, and how we need to maintain growth and innovation and free enterprise and all the personal rights and joys of America. This really is the strength of our country. And if we lose sight of who we are and what makes us unique and special, it really puts us at a disadvantage relative to a lot of threats and challenges that are outside our borders and inside our borders as well. And what I loved about tonight's session was talking about how it seems that in the hierarchy of things, folks don't like when somebody tells them what to do and takes from them something that doesn't belong to them, and yet they have no compunction doing that to somebody below them. So what we see in Texas is Texas coming to Oklahoma saying, give us your water above the Red River, and we'll go to court and fight for that. It's just not right. And Oklahoma City has stood up to that. And then Oklahoma City turns to southeastern Oklahoma and says, give us your water so we can, feed the water fountains in Oklahoma City. Folks, it's just not right. And the analogy here is what we're seeing from our federal government. The government is coming to you as private businessmen, as private individuals, and saying, give me what you have, and shows no effort whatsoever to exercise discipline, responsible stewardship, and provide some kind of good that comes back to us for all that money's been wasted. Our total debt equals the entire national output of our economy. 40 cents on every dollar is spent on credit. Nobody can live by that, right? So I guess my final point here, if you're going to give me the hook, is after serving our country as a Marine, I've been in some tough challenges. I've had to stand up and take on some very difficult issues, and I have a track record to do that. Happy to answer your questions at any time and provide additional information. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Our last candidate for U.S. Congress is Rob Wallace.
3 minutes. You can't expect somebody like me to say anything in 3 minutes. Let me say this. Brian, I'm going to give you another P. It's principle. Principle. This issue is going to be determined on principles, or it should be. And the principle that should be determined upon, Brian, is another P. Property. When you take somebody else's property, you should suffer for it.
That's right.
You see, I've stood in the courts of this state for the last 20 years, and I said, when you do something wrong, you take somebody's property that isn't yours, you're going to jail for it. It's a principle. You don't take what doesn't belong to you. Senator Kerr said to raise a family, you need land, remember it? Wood, remember Jim Bearberry? Land, wood, and what?
Water!
U.S. Pastor comes in his 1 Corinthians 13. It says, in these 3 things, abide, faith, hope, and love, and the greatest of these is what? Land, wood, and water, and the greatest of these. Because if you don't have water, BJ, the trees won't grow, and you won't have wood. And if you don't have water, the land looks like a desert. Go to West Texas and ask. They know. They know what they're facing. That's why they're trying to take ours. And we must say no.
All right! Woo!
is simple. It's what's right and what's wrong. What they're trying to do is wrong. We need to tell not just 12,000 voices to stand up and say it, not just 50,000 voices to stand up and say it, General. We need every voice in Oklahoma saying it, Senator. We need every voice in Oklahoma saying it's wrong, it must stop now, it's our water, leave it alone, and Senator, you're right. If they want it, they can come here to get it. You know, the reality is that without infrastructure, commerce doesn't flow. Without infrastructure, you can't have jobs. Well, guess what? It's cheaper to move the water down the street than it is across the state. It's cheaper to move the water down the road than it is across the Red River into Texas. It's cheaper to build buildings. It's cheaper to build factories. It's cheaper to bring your business here where our people are employed using our resource, the water in southeast Oklahoma. It should stay here.
My name's Dr. Wright. I'm native of McCurtain County, and I'm born and raised, I graduated high school. After that, I went on to college for 1 year. Then I spent a good amount of time working on the Broken Boat Dam, right on the Billy Dunn. So I'm invested in that lake up there. As the weather got bad, fortunately then we had rain. I had to join the Air Force because the job ran out. So I spent 4 years in service. Then after that, I went on back to college, and anyway, in the last few years, last 35 years, if you want to call that a few, I've been in the education business. So instead of a preacher, I'm a teacher. I served as an elementary science teacher for 6 years, elementary principal for 12 years, 13 years, and superintendent of schools at Hayward for 16 years, all at Hayward School. As a matter of fact, last year I served as a dual superintendent at Hayward Tom schools also. On the water issues, I'm water and all southeast Oklahoma is way there. And I just think it's essential. We're not touching our water. Anyway, I'll stop at that. Thank you much.
I've seen you around, but I've never
We got one more left.
That's nice.
Our next speaker is going to be Curtis McCurtain.
I've always been involved in agriculture. My dad's 81 years old, and he today is still involved in the cattle industry. And I feel I can relate to agriculture in that particular case. Tourism recreation, there's a group of men with along with me that own a resort in Okies, Ontario, Canada. We know what the calling cards are that it takes to get people into a resort. And folks, our calling card here is water. We have to look at it as a particular case. It's the most precious, life-sustaining natural resource that we have. It's imperative that we keep the water here in southeast Oklahoma. Because if you look at Texas A&M, their law school did a study of Texas's comprehensive water plan. And what they said is when you move water from one basin to another, the economy and the tourism follows the water. And the basin of origin, then, the economy and the tourism declines. Folks, we're interested in growth in McCurtain County. We're not interested in declining an economy or tourism as it is. Education, I was an educator. You want me to quit, do you? I've been an educator for 28 years.
30 seconds.
3 seconds?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. I was in education for 28 years, but that's the only thing I've done. I worked for OKC West, got built, designed, and run that place for a number of years. I've also done work in drug and alcohol use prevention. The bottom line is, it doesn't matter what I've done. So unless we improve our infrastructure here in McCurtain County, we're not going to get any better off than what we are. We've got to continue to expand our roads, improve our housing. We have to also see to it that we keep our water here. and help bring jobs to this part of the state and not just give it to Texas. Appreciate you for being here, folks, and staying.
Our next speaker is James Skipper.
Decided on the water issue, don't sell it to Texas. But I'm rather curious, if we do supposedly have excess, why not consider building more reservoirs? I mean, if you use the reservoirs for industry, you should look to the future. Instead of selling it, you should put it for your own use. That's pretty much what I have to say. I agree with Mr. Ellis. Dig out the pond. You know, I was just talking to a friend before I sat there, and that's what he just did last week. He said, it'll rain sooner or later, and I'm going to be ready. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kenny Spartan.
I do have a piece of paper, but it's not very long ago. I'd like to start out saying good evening to everyone. My name is Kenny Spartan. I am a candidate for the office of Oklahoma State Representative from District 1. I have lived and worked here in McCurtain County my entire life. I currently make my home 6 miles east of Reponsible here, near the Mount Fork River. And I am one of those 12,000 members of this Today, in terms of our water resources, we are faced with a great responsibility whereon we must act in good faith. Here in McCurtain County alone, we are blessed to have Reponsible Reservoir, Pine Creek Reservoir, Glover River, Mount Fork River, Little River, and Red River, of course, along with countless other streams, smaller lakes, and creeks. McCurtain County in southeastern Oklahoma that I see today is blessed with a rich supply of water and other natural resources. Resources that can allow future job growth and economic growth, meeting the needs of large mills such as the International Paper Mill and Valiant is a good example. I see resources that help support millions of dollars in tourism annually while still allowing much untapped potential for the same in the future. I see resources that equip the agriculture interests of most of this county in southeastern Oklahoma with their most valuable tool in making their living and marking their progress. I see abundance of the most valuable resource that anyone can possibly have. Let's not let what we see today be considered the good old days for our children. Let's not let it be the good old days when a man can take his family to the lake and enjoy a day of swimming and fishing and boating. The days when the canoeing industry brought thousands upon thousands of dollars to southeastern Oklahoma, primarily my little chunk of the earth over there around the Mount Fork River. The days when we once hosted one of the most sought after and pristine lakes in the state of Oklahoma, our beautiful, our very own Reponsible Lake. A day when our people's needs for water were met easily and our economic growth was not limited due to the lack of water. In short, the days before we divested ourselves of our most precious natural resource for the betterment of someone else. We owe it to our future generations to vow that these will not be the good old days. This is our great responsibility as the people of southeastern Oklahoma that we are indebted with to our children and our future. Let's take action now and continue to stand firm on this issue. I support House Bill 1483 and its upholding, and I'm grateful for the Choctaw and Chickasaw leaders and the role that they've played in this water fight and their commitment towards this cause. Thank you again for the chance here to speak with you.
Our last speaker tonight is Kevin George.
I'm going to leave this piece for the interest of time tonight and get directly into the water issue. My first thought when I started to seriously look at the water issue was, of course, well, ultimately, who owns the water? And the simple answer is simply to say, well, people own the water. But you have to, of course, go deeper than that.
Because ultimately what you have to deal with is who controls the water. We can say the people own it, but ultimately what really is a matter is who controls the water. And when you deal with that, you have to deal with two essential possibilities. And it's based on who you believe has the final authority in life in general, in government issues. If you believe in a top-down humanistic view of government, then the state is the final authority. And whoever is the final authority is ultimately, essentially, the owner, or just to act as the owner. If you believe that the state is essentially God, then you have what used to be called the divine right of kings idea. That you have the divine right of state ideology. And in this ideology, the state decides who gets what and when and where and how much and so forth. And I do not subscribe to that type of thinking. I subscribe to the biblical view, which is a bottom-up view of government. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and that, of course, includes the water. God's the creator and final authority, and we are God's fiduciary agents, caretakers of his creation. God created man and woman, and they created families. Families create communities. Communities create local governments like counties, and then counties are part of what are states. And so each layer in that order should only have derivative authority to handle what a lower layer cannot handle. And that's also called the federalist view of authority that we're supposed to have in our nation. That's what our founding fathers understood and built upon. This makes the people, not the state, to be the first recipient of the blessing of local public resources. That means the people of each county, not the county government, but the people of each county should decide what they do with their public resource, which is water. Local control requires local control mechanisms. And so I would say it should be something like a county water co-op, where the members can be local of the community only. To not have a mechanism leaves a vacuum of authority. And that is what we're facing when the state likes to walk in and say, we're going to tell you what to do. Well, and that's why the tribal nations come in handy for us in this case, because there is no vacuum of authority. They have a higher prior authority also. Thank you very much, and thank you for coming.
Appreciate the opportunity to share with y'all just for a minute, 3 minutes actually. I'll make this quick. My name is Joe Silk. I describe myself as a Christian conservative Republican. The word Christian to me means I base all my decisions in family, business, and life on the principles of the Bible. Simple as that. I live in Hooktown. I'm a small business owner. We manage 30 privately owned vacation cabins and also own and operate bed and breakfast inn, maternity inn, with my wife and my family. As I was sitting here tonight thinking about water, my mind went back to 1978. I'm originally from southwestern Oklahoma, where not much water out there, and I met a gal in the middle of the state, Central State University, I still call it, and she was an Eastern Oklahoma gal. I'd never been to this corner of the state. We became engaged, got married, and I made my first few visits down here and fell in love with it and told all my relatives back home, I said, someday I'm going to live in southeastern Oklahoma. And two things attracted me to this side of the state. That beautiful lady right there that I've been married to for 32 years, and the water resources out here. I went and saw her dad's garden out there just a few miles from Sardis Lake, and I thought, man, I wish I could grow a garden like this. I think they can do that over there in this state with all this water. So years later, we ended up over here. Just a little bit about me. Got a Bachelor of Business Administration degree from University of Central Oklahoma. Later on, I got a Master of Science degree in Third World Economic Development, which led us to serve some time in Mexico and Guatemala. Lo and behold, there was a water issue in the desolate mountains of a very secluded area of Mexico where we were involved in helping some indigenous tribes with their water resources there. Another grassroots effort down there, and that was a very rewarding experience. But we ended up back in Oklahoma about 15 years ago. As I said, I'm a small businessman. I understand economic problems a small businessman can encounter. I'm a church leader, member of Octavia Baptist Church, where I serve as a deacon and a youth leader. As I said, I've been married to this wonderful lady for 32 years. We have 5 children, 5 grandchildren. 2 of our older children have moved back to this area because of the resources that water has provided for me to be in the tourism industry. And it's attracted 2 of my kids to come back. One son-in-law is a builder now. My other son got out of the Coast Guard, and he works with me in my business. Our oldest son's in Afghanistan, Air Force pilot. Appreciate y'all's prayer for him. We want to get him home by Christmas. I'm active in the community on the McCurtain County Tourism Authority Board, as well as active member of the Reponsible Chamber of Commerce. I serve as Vice President of the Oklahoma Bed and Breakfast Association. One thing, when I'm elected to be your state representative, I can just say I will do the right thing. That's what I'm trying to live my life by, is doing the right thing.
That concludes all of our speakers for this evening, and as y'all are making your way out, I just have one final tidbit. We've all talked about study a whole lot tonight, and I want to go back to one issue that always just makes me sick. A few years ago, or a long time ago, they studied our local Simpson aquifer, and they determined that there were 24 inches of water available per acre of that aquifer. Due to concerns that we have now, that aquifer was restudied, and it's been the only aquifer that's been restudied in recent history. And it actually turned out that there was only 2 inches of water available per acre over that aquifer. Ladies and gentlemen, they figured it wrong. They overestimated the water by 900%. We need science, and we have to have that science before we can sell water.